so far. Joining me right now is Tom Bonier. He runs TargetSmart, a political data company, which has partnered with NBC to bring each of the data sets we just showed you and many more. And Mark Thompson back with us, host of the Make It Plain podcast. Good to see you both.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Tom, I think by now anyone who follows politics understands there's a surge of turnout, and a lot of folks have a broad idea of why that may be good for Biden. Walk us through specifically these deeper numbers you have on who the new voters are and what that means.
It's really remarkable what we're seeing in this surge in turnout because it's really across the board, sort of traditional Democratic constituents. Shared the numbers from a partisan perspective, but when we look at the demographics, the younger voters, we see voters of color, we see women putting massive margins in, the likes of which we've never seen in an election before. The interesting part of this is the other side of the equation is we're actually seeing seniors surging in key states like Florida and Arizona. And the data that we've seen in terms of who those seniors are actually more likely to be Democrat.
So why is it advantage Biden? Can you tell, is it part of the turnout efforts or just a larger kind of organic, if you will, coalition?
Well, look, there was a big question as this pandemic took hold in this country in terms of where turnout would end up and whether or not the Democratic intensity would be there on Election Day. And so clearly we've seen this data where we've seen turnout surpassing all records, as you showed, I mean, tripling the numbers we saw 4 years ago. That clearly the Democratic intensity is there. Part of that's organic. A big part of that is efforted by the campaign going out and communicating with these voters and turning them out. That said, a vote cast on the first day of early vote counts the same as a vote cast on Election Day, right? So in the end, they have to go right through to Election Day, as you said a moment ago.
Yeah, all really important points, and we're rooted again in votes. We're not talking about polling right now. We're actually talking about what we're learning about this long running, as I've emphasized, this is not election night, not election week, it's election weeks. And it's begun, and we're seeing the shape of the electorate. And Mark, some of it overlaps with things that you've talked about on this very program for months, including a lot of your advocacy about the different voting blocks that need to stand up and be counted and fight for your right to vote. So I want to present a little bit more for both the panelists, bringing Mark in. The Biden campaign psyched about these new numbers, 2 million more women now voting than men. That's a key part of any potential winning Biden coalition. As for black voters, always critical to the Democratic base, they saw about 750,000 early votes at this point in 16, now approaching 2 million. Those numbers matter, especially in the 3 states that decided the last election, where high turnout usually yields a Democratic win. Now take a look at Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, where Trump eked out that narrow 70,000 some vote edge. In Pennsylvania, Democrats outpacing ours 3-1, 600,000 votes to about 221,000. Wisconsin, they're up about 100,000 so far. And Michigan, Democrats ahead by about 100,000 votes.